I can't swear, but it's harden the F up. Get over it. I mean, I just represent, there's generations of people that went off to war and did stuff, and there was nothing for them, just work when they got back. And they just got on with stuff. And you don't know, I know in Australia after the first war, there were thousands of men hanging themselves in barns, just quietly, because they were so desperate and there was no help for anybody. And the same thing happened here. And I'm not saying I'm like those guys, but I represent people they just get on with life and they do stuff, and things affect them deeply, but they don't feel they have to go on a talk show and talk about it, or, do you know what I mean? Craig writes that stuff all day long. Don't you, Craig? Help me here, dude.
Yes.
Brown.
And like I say, I think I told you about this very early when we met. That's the one reason I like Walt, is he reminded me so much of my dad. And and there's so many people I know that say that about them.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, you guys have heard, I've said it before, like that, as far as like, my favorite quotes on literature, the one from Wallace Stegner where he says the greatest piece of fiction ever written is the disclaimer at the beginning of every book that says nobody in this book is based off anybody, alive or dead. And what a crock that is. I mean, that's your job, to go find, the people to put in your books. Like 9 times out of 10, I can go through every single character in the books. I can tell you exactly who their opposite is. And a lot of them are individuals like that. It's kind of like Robert says. They're not flashy. They're not out there. With 1 million followers on Facebook or something like that. They're quiet, decent people that are out there trying to get the job done. And I really like the use of the word decent. Decency is like a key element, I think. With the character of Walt. And I mean, when I look out here and look at all you guys, 350 people here, like on a Sunday afternoon, after like what we've gone through together for the last 2 days. It's kind of like we've all been to war together, especially poor Robert. But anyway, he's gonna have PTSD for the next couple of weeks. But post-traumatic Longmire disorder. I have to coin something there, but what it is like I think an awful lot of the times, like what people are responding to, both in the books and in the television show, is that decency. That's why we all have such a good time, and I kind of laugh about it because the thing I always notice is that Steve, our sheriff, and the chief of police, they always get together and do an article, here in Buffalo after Longmire days. About a crime report, for what happened, when our town was bombarded, by 20,000 strangers from all over the world. And what's hilarious is there's never been any criminal act in 5 years. And Sturgis can't say that, But I think, what it boils down to is I'm always laughing and telling those guys, these people, like their favorite guy in the world, he's a sheriff, They kind of feel like playing by the rules, They kind of see, a good thing in that, like that. And I do think, though, that the heart, that I hope, is in the books, and I certainly know is in the television show, and I know is in all of you. Is the thing that I think it's touched, and it's the thing that kind of combines all of us together and makes this such a wonderful activity and such a wonderful event. And all I can do is say thank you for that.
Well, before I turn it over to questions, I'll ask both of you, since you've got the mic, I'll start with you. So far, what's been your best experience with dealing with Walt Longmire?
What's my best experience with dealing with Walt Longmire?
Or one of them.
It's sitting over there on the other side of you.
God, don't tell me you didn't say that's
I didn't think it was that kind of a meeting. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but so many wonderful experiences. Getting the job, reading it, and thinking, I really want to do this. This is the one, and then getting it. That was an amazing experience. And then showing up in Santa Fe, and every actor thinks they're a complete fraud and they're going to get discovered and fired at any moment. People figure out you're just full of it, and waiting for that to happen, and it didn't happen, and quite the opposite happened. I thought, boy, these people are really dumb. And one night we shoot up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, the old Las Vegas, and I was down in a restaurant there at the Plaza Hotel where we shoot on the Plaza, where the exterior of the office, and was there in my script. You could never see me with my head in the, learning my lines and doing hash marks and doing this 1,000. And this little gal, a waitress, just head down, and I might have had a beer, and I'm saying, she comes in, what can I get you, Sheriff? I said, what did you call me? Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. I said, why are you sorry? I said, that's about the best greeting I've ever had. And she was so sweet. I just, wow, how about that?
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to questions. I'm going to be the bad guy here a little bit. One of the rules, kind of, we have, since so many people come here, we've got limited time. Please have an actual question, not just a statement, and not make the statement and ask, do you agree with me? That's not a question. And then some of the ones that have apparently always been asked, I'll field right now. No, Robert won't have your children for you. And two, you're still coming off of the character, so you're not really doing, you're doing speaking an Australian accent. I thought I gave you enough time to swallow the water, but maybe. First question, gentleman right there.
Sir, have there been any off-screen romances because of your portrayal on the TV program?
Oh, there better not be. I've been a significant other, and there better not be.
What's Ben Paul? Yeah. Well, I had a job with him one time. It was all good, I was cast. Then I went to meet him. Then I suddenly, the next day, I didn't have the job anymore. And then I figured why. Because I was too tall for him. He's a good guy, whatever. He's a nice man. No, he's a really good guy, but I was too tall to stand next to him. It was just a commercial for something. One of those tourist ones, remember those? I'm not a shrimp on the body, mate. They don't call them shrimp, by the way, but anyway. What was it? No romance that not involved, not with me. Oh, well, I couldn't. I couldn't possibly say. There may have been one a few years back that, of course, I was the last to know. Years later, but I can't say. Ferg and Ruby. Not that I know of, no.
Lady right there.
Hi. Do you have a home in the United States, or you just work here and go
I
back?
come and go.
Yeah.
I got a funny story. I don't know if you like these stupid stories, but
We love them.
my wife I wanted to buy a place in New Mexico or Wyoming, and my no good friend Tom Kaltiski was buying me land. Greg pointed out it was full of
Fracked.
Fracked.
Is the word we're looking for.
Thanks, Craig. No, I knew what was going on. And so I wanted to buy a place in up near Taos. And Ace wanted to buy a place on the beach in Sydney, so we did what you do in a relationship. We compromised and got a place on the beach in Sydney. That she loves, and I'm just always dreaming about the West. So I'm getting a place here. I said, I'm buying a place, so I'd love you to be there, but I'm going to be there a lot.
Lady right over there.
I noticed in season 5 there were a couple of episodes where there was a lot of humor injected, and one where Walt's supposed to take his pills and Vic's nagging out in the truck. And then the other one was in episode 7 where Walt's making out with Donna in the Bronx. And the whole so how difficult was it to film those?
For those of you who have only gotten up to season 4, get Netflix.
About to lose it in a couple of those scenes. It looks like you're just very...
lost it. That was a lot of fun. Big shift. No explanation necessary.
I'm always looking for opportunities to put stuff in. I think you'll find the last season's it's not the last season, but the 6th season's got a lot of stuff. But, you can do stuff. It doesn't mean it's going to make it. They can cut it. And when we're on A&E, it was 42 minutes per episode. We'd shoot 70 minutes. A lot of stuff went, a lot of Lou's stuff, a lot of Adam's stuff, a lot of my stuff, just went, whole scenes, whole plot lines. So, yeah, but there's more of that, and there should be even more. But, you know, with your wife dying and stuff, it was a bit bleak for the first couple of years. So.
Anybody on the far end of it? Lady right there.
Will there be a bloopers episode?
It'd be the best of all, I can tell you that. I mean, we've got so much material, and usually they dump it. They have like an assistant editor that just dumps it somewhere, and then they put it together, but nobody ever did, but it's all there.
Oh, good.
It's all there, and some of the stuff is legendary. I mean, sometimes Barley and I we just couldn't go on. You know, be the most serious of scenes, and we just look at each other, and we were just gone. We were in a puddle on the floor, laughing, and then the crew, and Graham Greene. You know, Graham Greene plays Malachi. He's always going to have the last words, just make stuff up all the time. I told the story the other day. He'd always get my name wrong. Oh, Longfinger. And one day, I swear to goodness, he said, oh, Stinkfinger. I said, no, we're not having that one. No, that's not, no, sir. It was just out of control.
Gentleman on the far end.
Hypothetically speaking, would a movie be based on one of the books, or would it take a totally different tack from any of the current stories written?
Would anybody know the answer to that?
Well,
I think they're always drawing on storylines from the books, but it has to be a self-contained movie. It will be a self-contained movie that's got to fit like 90 to 110 minutes. So they're always trawling for stuff from the books, I know, but I don't think you could do a book in an hour and a half, could you, Craig?
220.
Be pretty short. That was one of the first, like when I met the producers the first time, one of the first things they said to me was, your books don't cut down to a 42-minute teleplay very easily. And I said, thank you. You shouldn't be reading them if they did. Look at But yeah, I mean, but they've shown an incredible acumen in being able to take some very long books like that and use them as, you know, the essential material. I think it was like the beginning of the third season. Is that the one where you're going up on the mountain like that? Second season, like it. And it was all from Hell is Empty. It was all from Hell is Empty. Like, and I thought they did it. It was an extraordinarily difficult episode to do because you have to go back and bring up everything that happened in the first season, but you don't want to do that crappy, you know, remember in the first season of Longmire, you know, and it was really wonderful because as Walt's going up the mountain and he's having these hypothermic responses, you know, and he's delusional and all this kind of stuff, he keeps seeing the different pivotal characters from season one, and they retold that whole, you know, season as he's going along. I thought it was amazing what it is that they did. So never say never, you know.
So that was a pretty excruciating shoot.
Well, that was a nightmare. The first week of season 2, we were talking about it, and the only thing that compares is this last week that we did the week before last, which was that week we're at a place called Red River, northern New Mexico. And I'm not 25, and I'm sprinting through, 3, 4, 5 feet of snow with, all my gear, and carrying a dead guy at one stage or a dying guy for, 16 hours a day. I've never slept like that. I mean, one day I woke up just on the couch like this. They had to come in and wake me up.
How much were you cussing at Craig while you were doing that?
Fair bit. But it was worth it. It was good.
One of my favorite short stories, which I would like to see them use. Do you think you could talk Katie Sackhoff into being lowered into a porta potty for the one the messenger? I was hoping they would do that.
I think I could talk her into anything. She could talk me into anything. Easily. Now, we're very close. And she's been amazing the last few years. She was tough the first couple of years with Katie. She wasn't, and, I guess personal life, boyfriends and stuff. But since then, she's just been amazing. And I think when we're coming up to the show, she was the one who said, Robert, we can't finish this show. we can't ever be done with this show. What are we going to do? So what do you suggest? Let's go and meet Peter Roth. He's the president of Warner Bros. I said, okay. Now everybody's involved.
Lady right there.
This is for the author. I'm wondering how much input that you've had on the series. I guess there are writers. They're your characters. How much input have you had on each of the series?
It was interesting like that because they generally what happens in Hollywood, the first thing they do is tell the novelist, it's been really nice, bye. And you never hear from them again like that. But the big shocker was the first set of FedExed, DVDs of the auditions that they sent to me, for Robert's role. And it was really weird like that because I remember talking to a couple of other authors that had stuff done by Hollywood, and they were like, "Get out of here! There is no way." And I was like, "Yeah, they sent me the DVDs like it." And so they sent me the DVDs for every single character like it, and I gave them feedback on every single one of them like that, and every single one that I wanted, I got. Which was really kind of wonderful. And then, it's Hollywood like it, and so, the only thing you can really do, unless you're in that business or something, I'm a cowboy from a town of 25 like it, and so I don't know anything about acting, directing, lighting, sound, costuming, sets, all these different things like that they do. I don't know anything about that. Like, so the best thing I can do is get the very best people I can to work with. And what was nice was it was a package deal from Warner Brothers, so I got to meet everybody that was involved with the process before I actually signed on the dotted line, which is another luxury that a lot of authors don't get. But the one thing I can do is I can write. And I also know these characters. I knew them for like 7 or 8 years, before they started to do the television show. And so it was kind of funny like that, but they made me an executive creative consultant on the television show. And what that means is I know where the porta potties are on set. No, what it meant is they could either hire somebody that knew about sheriffing, hire somebody that knew about Wyoming, hire another somebody that would know about the Northern Cheyenne, and we go all the way down the list of all the things, the components that make up, the world of Walt Longmire, or they could pay me and keep me on the payroll. And so what they would do is we have an off-season discussion, about the arc of the season, individual episodes, and then when they sit down in the writers' room where they have about a bunch of writers that get together to work on these things, which sounds like my hell, I got to tell you. I'm a horrible dictator. I like to go into my room and sit down and do it my way. But then what they do is they send me the scripts, and then I go through the scripts and I do a line edit, and tell them, okay, yeah, this is okay, yeah, no, this is really not okay. No, a sheriff would not have jurisdiction on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation at this particular point in time. And go all the way through. A lot of things we agree on, some things we disagree on. But what's been really great about the last 6 years is that when we do disagree, they will tell me why it is that they're doing something. And there's usually some sort of reason as to why it is that they do what they do that I might disagree with. But it was funny like that because I remember even the very first disagreement that we had was in the casting process like that, because the very first meeting that I had with them, they said, one of the things we're thinking about doing is making Walt and Henry about 10 years younger than they are in the books. And I had the immediate redneck cowboy response where I was like, well, now why are we doing that? And they said, well, because we'd really like to have the show run for about 10 years and we'd rather not have Walt and Henry on walkers. We get to the end, and so I'm looking forward to it. I hope Robert's right, and I hope we do get the TV movies, because when he gets about 10 years older, he's actually going to be Walt's age, and he'll be able to play the role.
It does remind me, though, about things different from the book. How much did Katie Sackhoff, how did she take all the backlash of her being blonde in the first? Because the people who read the books were not happy about that when the show first came out.
Were they?
I know, I heard about it. If you looked on Facebook, everybody was bragging about that. Yeah, 3 more.
I think she won him over, though. I think.
Yeah. Well, I just know they had to write the line in of, how do you like me as a blonde now? Like in the this 5th episode or something, just so everybody.
Yeah.
Lady way back there, and I've got time for 2 more. How many more books can we expect?
I am 56 years old. I figure I'm going to be about maybe 85, 90 years old when I kick it, but I'm shooting for 100. We're looking at hopefully 45 more Walt Longmire books. That doesn't even include the novellas. I'm on it.
Gentleman right there.
Yes, the author. It was great to have part of his character being a Vietnam veteran and reading about, and it made the strength of him being a sheriff.
Uh-huh.
I really liked it.
Yeah, we actually discussed with the because I mean, for me, one of the things is that I'm always annoyed with whenever you watch Hollywood or read these books or something like that. It's always the pizza kid, will drop the pizza box out on the street and pick up an AK-47 and suddenly know how to operate it, and it just doesn't work that way. A little bit of military training tends to go a long way in law enforcement. And so, when I was coming up with the ideas of Walt and Henry, I thought, okay, yeah, that would be the war. The Vietnam War would be the one where they would be able to draw from. And so then when I was talking to the producers, and they said, well, we're thinking about making them about 10 years younger and all of this. Can you come up with anything that you think would actually work for a military background, for the characters? Then and I said, yeah, the Lebanon bombing killed the largest number of Marines after the Tet Offensive. And I had this whole scenario written up that was, with Henry was still in special forces, and Walt was one of the surviving Marines, from the Lebanon truck bombing, which kind of gave him that survivor's kind of, that he'd gone through something that nobody else should have had to have gone through, but that he did, and also that little bit of guilt that goes along with being one of the guys that made it, and I think it would have worked, and you never can tell. That may pop up later on down the road in one of the movies, who can say? So.
Last question, the lady right here. Yes, you.
So, Rob, you had mentioned you haven't read all of the books because you wanted the unity of vision from the scripts. And I was wondering if, Craig, if you felt the same way, or if the TV show has influenced your books, or if you see them influencing your future books?
No, I mean they've had a strange effect, is what they've had. Because I mean I was writing the books, for 7 or 8 years before the television show came along, and all of the characters are all based off of people that I know really, really well. The one that I always get a laugh about is that I remember sending my brother the script for The Cold Dish, and him getting it and calling him up, and I said, "Did you read that manuscript I sent over?" And he goes, "Yeah, I haven't. You're dead." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "That old sheriff that Walt goes and plays chess with on Tuesday nights at the Home for Assisted Living, that's our dad, Craig." Crap, I thought I did that really well. No, he looks like Dad, he acts like Dad, he talks like Dad. The only thing he did was cut off one of his legs, and I don't think that's my cool Dad. So I said, I gotta go. And so I hung up, and I called my mother, and she got to answer the phone, and I said, "Mom, you guys read that manuscript I sent over?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm halfway through it. I mean, it's so good." She's my mom, what's she gonna say? And so I said, "Has Dad read the manuscript?" "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, he's about 2/3 of the way through." And I was like, he's definitely read the Lucian parts. I'm trying to think, how I'm gonna ask the next question. And my mom comes back on the phone and she goes, "Honey, your father thinks he's Walt Longmire." I'm standing with my mouth hanging open, I trying to figure out how I'm going to ask the next question, right? And then she comes in. Those of you who've been on the, if you watch the television show or read the books, know how far apart those two characters are, right? And so I'm trying to think how I'm going to ask this question. She comes back on and she says, "Let's not disabuse him of that thought." So yeah, for me, it would be very difficult for someone like, say, Peter Weller to replace the voice of my father in my head. But what's been really strange though is, and this kind of gave me a little bit of an indication of maybe what the writing process for me kind of is that the actors are popping up as different people in the books, strangely enough. And I think what that is because they've actually become friends. They're friends of mine now. And so they're just popping up, not as the characters, but as other characters in the books. When I read The Highwayman, and there is this Arapaho highway patrolman by the name of Bobby Womack who's haunting, the Wind River Canyon, and I remember there was the part where Walt finally gets to see this ghost of Bobby Womack, and I remember reading it to my wife Judy, and she goes, "Is that Zon McLaren?" And I was like, "Shit, I think it is." And so they're popping up in all kinds of different strange places. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day who was asking me, like, when's the next novella I'm going to do? And I said, you know what, I've got this idea, but it's kind of a crazy idea. And I don't know if it'll work or not. But I don't know if you know it or not. But the old Robert Taylor, the old movie star Robert Taylor, who's Ivanhoe and all of that, he actually had a cabin here, up above in the mountains up here above Buffalo. And I just can't help but think that I've got to write a novella where Walt is in high school and gets in trouble, and one of the things Lucian makes him do is drive Robert Taylor around, during rodeo weekend. But that's going to be really weird, because not only am I going to have my dad, and I'm going to have the old Robert Taylor, and I'm going to have Walt, and I'm going to have the new Robert Taylor, It might get really complex, really quick.
We're not quite through yet. We have 15, is it 15 copies?
Yeah, we have 15 copies
of the advanced reading copy of The Western Star.
You might notice the cover on The Western Star.